round. We are joined by Mercedes Schlapp, ACU Foundation Senior Fellow and former White House advisor to President Trump. Also joined by Chris Hahn. He's the host of the Aggressive Progressive podcast. Say that 3 times fast. He's also a former aide to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Thanks to you both for joining me. Mercedes, it strikes me that something else interesting about these vaccination passports that Republicans are saying is that it's hypocritical coming from the Biden administration, because this is the same administration that is, whose party is broadly against the idea of ID requirements for voter registration and voting at polls across the nation.
Right. I mean, Jillian, you hit a really important point here, and that's the illogical mentality of the left, where you're hearing this support for the vaccine passports. We've already seen Governor Cuomo move forward in this direction in terms of having vaccine credentials when individuals are going to an entertainment venue. And then at the same time, you have the Democrats saying, well, wait a second, you don't need a voter ID to vote. Okay, when you get a COVID vaccine, you have to show an ID. When you go to the doctor, you have to show an ID. And now you're seeing this movement towards saying, yes, if you're going to go to these events, if you're going to travel, you may need a vaccine passport. You have the Biden administration working with big tech to come up with this technology. I think all of it is troubling. And we really need to step away from this this issue, and because there are constitutional issues, privacy questions associated with these vaccine passports.
Yeah.
So, Chris, we know that the White House or the Biden administration writ large is not unified around this concept. We've heard some officials speak out against it. But on the flip side, those who are in favor say, hey, this is going to make life easier for Americans. It's going to help you avoid the dreaded quarantine period that's now in place for Americans around the world. If you want to start traveling to other countries for business or to see your family, this is going to make it a lot more pleasant for you. The passport.
Here's what's troubling. The private sector is driving it, not the government. But Republicans, like everything else they've done during this horrible crisis we've been through, are pushing these conspiracy theories that the government's trying to control you, which is causing some of their followers not to get vaccinated. People like Tucker Carlson, like Jim Jordan, like Mercedes right here, right now, casting doubt on the fact that the government, or trying to convince people that the government is somehow watching you. That is very irresponsible. People need to get vaccinated, and it's the private, hold on, it is the private sector that wants to make sure that people coming into their venues are vaccinated so that their patrons can be safe from COVID-19. It is time for conservatives in this country to acknowledge we have a crisis and start joining the fight to end it and stop spreading lies about what's going on in this country. It is devastating this country, and blood is on the hand of the former guy and others who support him.
You're not going to call Tucker Carlson a conspiracy theorist. That is wrong. This is what the Democrats do. They keep calling us names. We're not going to put up with this. I stand for freedom. I stand for the freedom of the American people every single day.
You're a grifter. This is ridiculous.
Let's not do name calling, guys. Okay, let's keep it civil.
But I'm not going to allow Chris. He does this all the time. To call Tucker Carlson a liar.
Yeah, we don't do name calling.
Okay, we have every right to make this decision for our family.
They are damaging the effort to get this under control.
We are a country that has
to be fair, Chris, what the reality right now is that President Biden has directed his public health officials to look into whether the idea of vaccine passports are feasible and a good idea and appropriate for Americans. So it may not be, the government trying to control all Americans, but we do know that this is an initiative the Biden administration is at least interested in. It's not entirely being driven by the private sector.
And look, they're looking into something that the private sector asked for, and conservatives, rather than saying, hey, the private sector's looking at this, they decide to jump on it as a way to attack Joe Biden, because they have no way to attack Joe Biden because Americans are happy with him. They go, hold on a minute, Mercedes. They go on, they look at this as a way to attack Joe Biden, and in the process of doing it, they are discouraging Americans from getting vaccinated, and it is irresponsible, and it should stop right now, no matter who's doing it.
All right, guys, we got to leave it there. That was the last word. Thanks to you both. We'll bring you back. Mercedes, I owe you one coming up sometime soon. Thanks so much for your time. All right, one Republican congressman is calling for